Hello and welcome. This is John Gearhart with Walsworth Yearbooks, and today's tutorial will focus primarily on advisors and the things that you will need to do at the very beginning of the year to set up your book. And this applies to all kinds of books, whether it's an elementary book or a high school book. And it doesn't matter if you're a new advisor or old advisor, or if you complete the book by yourself, or if you have a staff of 30. These are all things that you will need to do to get the year started correctly. So this is pretty much what it will look like when you log into Online Design for the first time. And we're going to focus just on one tab for this tutorial, which is Plan Book. And this is basically where you edit all of the information for your ladder and set up the other parts of your book that will need to be consistent. So we have fonts, color styles, master pages, and custom templates. And you'll notice that we have those same things over here under Assign, as well as titles, due dates, and staff. A couple other links to mention here are Apply Templates and Move Spreads, Design Settings, and way down here we have Print Ladder, which that will just print everything that you have on this page. And then lastly is Upload Cover and End Sheet Art, which is where you will upload anything that we need for your cover or end sheets. So let's first start with fonts. And by default, you will have Helvetica and Times, but you will want to add in the other fonts that you are going to use throughout the book. So when you hover over one, you'll see you get a little bit of a preview here. And once you click on it, then you get the full preview, and then you can decide if you want it or not. If you decide you don't want it, you can just click the X there, and you can add up to 30 of these fonts. So, feel free to kind of play with that. Of course, you don't want to add too many because you want the book to have a nice consistent feel, but you can click on those to see what you like. This one, for example, is pretty difficult to read, so you might not want that to be an option. Once you've chosen your fonts, you also want to look over here at default font and make sure that you have the correct font chosen. Typically, the font that you're going to put as your default is the font that you're going to use for all of your body copy, because that is the most common text box. So I'm going to leave mine at Helvetica, but I'm going to change it to size 10. Okay. And everything auto saves in here. There's nothing that you need to go click save or anything. The next thing is color styles. And you'll notice by default you have black and white and 4 color. And what we're going to do right now is create a new one. And we're going to do that by selecting the colors that we want for our book. And these are going to be the colors that you're going to use throughout the whole book. You will still have access to all of the other colors, but this is just a real nice way to make sure that the correct colors are being used throughout the book. And you also want to always add this F6200. It's a black. We call it rich black, and you want to always add that to your color style because you will use this one if you want to do a full page that's black, or if you have really large titles that you want to appear real nice and black, you'll want to use this F6200. And we're going to give this a name. I'm just going to call this Tutorial Example. You could call this whatever you want, and then hit Create. And you'll notice that you have it appear right there. Okay, now I could assign the color styles to spread right here from this area, but I'm not going to do that yet. I'm going to move on to Master Pages. So when you click on Master Pages, you'll notice that you have the Master A, which is going to be applied to all of your spreads, and Master B. And all that is essentially for Master A is just your page number. Master B has the page number and anything that you've typed into the ladder. You could create a new one here, and I'm just going to show you what that looks like. Tutorial Example. And once you create it, you'll have to actually hit Edit, and then it will go into the page editor, and it will then allow you to add in the page numbers or whatever you want on your actual master page. And you'll see here when you click folio layer, your folio is nothing more than the page numbers, and whatever is on the folio layer will always be on top of everything else. So you could add in the page number if you want. And you'll notice this is just a text box, so you could change that to be whatever font you want, whatever color you want. And that's the purpose of the master page, to create those elements that are going to stay consistent throughout every page. Which also happens to apply to the number of columns on each page. So if I go up here and click View, Set Columns, I can change this to whatever number I'd like, and it even tells you here, change will affect all spreads using this master page. So when I click Save, I now have 6 columns on each page, and when I apply this master page to other pages throughout the book, they will also have the same column setup. So that's a great way to help manage that consistency and keeping your grid throughout the book. Okay, so that's all for master pages for now, so I'm going to click Save and Close. And custom templates, there's not really anything for me to show you in here right now, but essentially anything that you create on any of your pages, you can save as a custom template. So if we click back on ladder, I'm going to show you a couple of ways to assign all of this information to your pages. If we double click here on spread 2 and 3, you'll notice that you get a pop-up. And right here is a preview of your spread. In this case, it's blank because we don't have anything there. But you can type in whatever you want this to be called. And you can give it a due date. Let's say that it's due September 4th. And you can assign staff. Now, when you create new users, they will show up here in this assign staff. And I have another tutorial that specifically discusses setting up new users and their permissions. But for now, I'm just going to assign a couple people to it. And I'm going to also assign tutorial example for my master page. And then for color, we're going to change to tutorial example. Okay, so you can see it took a minute, but I was able to change all of that stuff right there just by double clicking on the spread. And again, you don't have to save anything because it will automatically do it for you. A much better way of doing this, I think, is to click over here under Assign, and you can assign titles. And so this is nice because you can just click in here and start typing. Okay, and you could do the same thing for each one of your pages. Or an even better way is if you know pages, let's say 18 through 32 was going to be sports. You could simply type in that page range, type in sports, and hit apply, and now that will change all of those titles to sports. So you can do the same thing with it, using the same method for due dates. So let's say we wanted 18 through 32 to be due on October 2nd. You will see that that will all update to October 2nd. And we can do the same thing for master pages. And we could enter in the entire page range if we wanted. So we could do 1 through 128 in this case. And select tutorial example and apply. Okay, hit done. And then we'll do the same thing for color styles. And I'm going to do the whole thing again, 1 through 128. Select our tutorial example and hit apply. Okay. And then we can even do that with the staff. And it's unlikely that you'll have a bunch of people assigned to every page, but you can go through and select individual ones like that, or you could type in the page range, however you want to do it, whatever you think makes sense for you. And that pretty much covers the basics of it. The other very important button on here is this design settings. And this is important because it will change the measure of units for the entire book. So if you want to use picas, you can, or inches or points. And so you'll want to set that right there. And then also you want to set the margins for the entire book. Right now it's popular to have the bottom margin be a little bit larger than the other ones. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do that. And then that will apply to your entire book. So that pretty much takes care of the things that you'll want to do to get the book set up for the beginning of the year. And you can always come back and change these things, but primarily the advisor will be the only one to have access to this, unless as advisor you've granted permission for some of these things to your editor or other students. So if you have any questions, please let me know. I appreciate it. Thank you.